All right, to this a suggestion via a channel member. The name of the video is ICE Raid Rocks, Illinois. A police officer exposed for living illegally in the United States of America. Let's go ahead and jump into it, guys.
Also breaking right now,
Coming from the channel
Hanover
Crime
Park
Watchers.
police officer detained by ICE this morning. The Department of Homeland Security says the officer, who's from Montenegro, overstayed a tourist visa by more than a decade.
All information we received from the federal government indicated that Officer Bojitch is legally authorized to work in the United States as a police officer. But now the illegal alien remains in DHS custody.
A shocking ICE raid in Illinois uncovered a secret no one could have imagined. A police officer who had been living in the United States illegally. The officer, 25-year-old Joe Bojitch from Montenegro, had overstayed a tourist visa by a decade. His arrest under Operation Midway Blitz exposed how a sworn Illinois cop could wear the badge of the law while secretly breaking it.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem also commenting on social media today, saying ICE arrested an illegal alien working as a sworn police officer in the Chicago suburbs. Radical sanctuary politicians have allowed criminal illegal aliens to infiltrate our school districts.
Homeland Security confirmed the extraordinary details later that day.
And guys, understand this is not the first one that we've basically caught, guys. I mean, there was another one in Maine.
Bojitch, a Montenegrin national, had entered the United States on a B-2 tourist visa that expired on March 31st, 2015, more than 10 years earlier. He had never left. The official statement described him as an illegal alien from Montenegro who overstayed his visa by over a decade and falsely obtained employment in law enforcement. The revelation hit like a political earthquake. A police officer, trained, armed, and employed by a suburban department, was now in ICE custody for violating the same immigration laws he was sworn to uphold.
I'm highly skeptical.
I mean, I wouldn't say that he was sworn to uphold the immigration laws because, again, the police that are in Illinois specifically will not help at all under any circumstances. ICE, it seems, right? I mean, I hear what you're saying, right? But sworn? It would be great if they were actually sworn in, but I think they actually are. Wait a second. Like, they have to defend the Constitution by default, but yet they generally put their own local policies, corporate policies specifically over the Constitution. Sometimes they don't align. And they do choose to end up going with the local the local statutes and policies more so than the federal government's Constitution. I will say, though, that does happen occasionally in some places more than others, so I wouldn't say that he's specific. He may have been sworn, right? But I guess that's how fickle the swearing in is, I guess.
Skeptical of what the town is saying on this because we know in Illinois they are basically full-on pro-illegal immigrants.
That's what I'm talking
and remember,
about.
this is J.D. Pritzker signed a bill, I believe it was July of 2023, allowing non-citizens to be police officers.
The arrest was part of a broader federal campaign, Operation Midway
wild.
Blitz, launched to identify illegal workers embedded in sensitive or federally funded roles. The operation focused on sanctuary zone jurisdictions across Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana, where state and local governments had limited cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Hanover Park was never supposed to be one of those flashpoints, but that morning it became the center of a national conversation about how such a glaring oversight could happen in one of the most regulated professions in America.
Agents, the Department of Homeland Security, telling us that this man overstayed his tourist visa, which allegedly expired in 2015. The Department of Homeland Security says it encountered Radul Bojitch in a targeted enforcement action, part of Operation Midway Blitz.
Within hours, DHS Press Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed that the arrest was not random. Bojitch's case had been under investigation for months after federal employment databases flagged inconsistencies between his immigration records and state payroll entries. By the time ICE agents moved in, they had enough evidence to detain him under immigration violation statutes and question the department's hiring process. For the small Hanover Park Police Department, it was a humiliation few could have imagined. A sworn officer taken away in handcuffs by the same federal agents their department regularly coordinated with. Federal records paint an unusual picture of how Bojitch managed to stay hidden in plain sight. He arrived legally in 2015 as a visitor from Montenegro and never departed. What puzzled investigators was not the visa overstay itself, thousands occur every year, but how he later obtained federal work authorization and passed multiple background checks to become a police officer.
That's the concern right there. That, like, That is the issue right there. We need to figure that out. Whose ID was he using? Because obviously he wasn't using his own. How did he pass the background checks? How did he even get into the academy? There's so many questions here. There were a lot of systems that failed to basically allow him in here, guys.
Hanover Park Police Department, Bojitch presented a valid work permit issued by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Oh, yeah?
One that had even been renewed recently.
Oh.
Local officials insist they did everything by the book, conducting both FBI and Illinois State Police background checks, which came back clean.
But it's a real problem that we would even have a system where non-citizens could be police officers. But J.D. Pritzker, again, signed this into law because they always put illegal aliens and non-citizens ahead of citizens.
In January 2025, the Hanover Park Pension Board formally approved Bojitch's eligibility for benefits, verifying his employment and confirming that his federal work documents appeared legitimate. When ICE made the arrest, they also seized those same records as evidence of potential document fraud or bureaucratic error. Homeland Security officials are now probing whether the work authorization was issued through clerical mistakes, identity misuse, or federal system loopholes that failed to cross-check visa expiration data. How did someone with no legal residency manage to draw a $200,000 taxpayer-funded salary, gain pension rights, and carry a firearm? That's the question now at the heart of multiple investigations.
Good.
DHS officials privately admit that
interagency
communication gaps may have played a major role. Employment eligibility checks run through different systems than immigration status databases, a weakness long criticized by auditors. The result was a perfect storm of administrative trust and policy negligence. A man whose visa expired 10 years ago was officially recognized as fit to serve in law enforcement.
They say he illegally overstayed his visa by more than 10 years. According to ICE, Bojitch provided his employee identification card confirming he is a police officer with the Hanover Park Police Department when he was detained.
Even more striking, Bojitch never concealed his identity. He used his real name, address, and social security documentation throughout the hiring process.
Social security document? Why would he have that? How do you get that? Listen, yeah, there were just like a gigantic amount of systems that failed to allow this individual basically into the power that he basically had, guys. It almost doesn't make any sense here. But again, if we are talking about the literal government that J.B. Pritzker is running currently, what else do we really expect? I mean, just incompetency. Like, that, when tourists come specifically, they're not allowed to carry guns. What do you mean? They're not. So why is he? Right? Why is he?
The revelation that no one flagged the visa overstay earlier has become a case study in how federal verification protocols can fail when states operate under separate sanctuary frameworks. For Illinois, it's an embarrassment. For federal watchdogs, it's evidence of how policy blind spots can become national security concerns. As the story spread, attention quickly turned to Governor J.B. Pritzker's 2023 legislation allowing non-citizens to serve as law enforcement officers in Illinois. The law was originally presented as a progressive measure to expand recruitment during police shortages, permitting deferred action recipients and other legal non-citizens to apply. But critics argued it blurred the line between lawful non-citizenship and illegal presence. When ICE revealed Bojitch's immigration status, the political backlash was immediate.
Records indicating his earnings cost taxpayers more than $200,000. The arrest, happening as a federal judge, ordered Chicago ICE Field Officer Director Russell Hott to appear in court next week to answer questions about several incidents where violations of a temporary restraining order were alleged.
Former acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey called the incident a predictable disaster, accusing Illinois of treating illegal aliens the same or better than American citizens. His statement echoed the sentiment across conservative media, where commentators framed Bojitch's case as the ultimate proof that sanctuary policies endanger the rule of law. The Department of Homeland Security went further, releasing a sharply worded statement that accused Pritzker of allowing illegal aliens to work as sworn police officers, a line that dominated headlines and talk shows for days. Governor Pritzker pushed back, calling the situation a bureaucratic breakdown, not a policy failure. He defended his 2023 law as an inclusion measure that did not authorize illegal residents to serve, only those with lawful work status. But critics weren't convinced. To them, the distinction had collapsed entirely. If a person who overstayed a tourist visa could carry a badge and gun, then the system's foundation was broken.
Yes,
Conservative
absolutely.
lawmakers in Washington and Springfield quickly drafted resolutions demanding the suspension of Illinois' non-citizen officer program pending a federal review.
Governor J.B. Pritzker doesn't just allow violent illegal aliens to terrorize Illinois' communities. He allows illegal aliens to work as sworn police officers. Bojitch.
The fallout went beyond state lines. Immigration reform groups in Texas, Florida, and Arizona seized on the incident as a warning of what could spread nationwide under expanded sanctuary governance.
Yeah, it's not going to spread, guys. I mean, listen, I do think that most governors actually have kind of the wherewithal to not allow this to actually happen. But the places where you'd have to worry about this generally are going to be the places that also give driver's license to illegal immigrants, right? Like you're talking about those places. I mean, worry about obviously like the sanctuary hotbeds. Those are the places that are the troublesome issues here. But either way.
Political analysts called it a policy fault line, where the federal government enforces immigration law while states redefine citizenship boundaries for public service. The debate has now expanded into congressional hearings, with lawmakers questioning whether law enforcement powers can ever be delegated to individuals lacking full legal status. For many Americans, the image of a young suburban officer in uniform being led away by ICE summed up something deeper: the confusion, contradiction, and collision between immigration enforcement and state autonomy. It wasn't just about Joe Bojitch. It was about the blurred lines of a country trying to balance compassion with compliance, inclusion with security, and law with politics. And in Illinois, that balance had just tipped into crisis.
Ordering people to break the law. So, he should know that, yeah, it may be 3 years from now that he is held accountable, but make sure, I think it's important for them to know that whatever they do now, it's not like we're going to forget.
Bojitch's case became the face of that mission.
But he, J.B. Pritzker, is in fact the one ordering people to break the law, right? I mean, you're basically lording over your police department to basically make sure that they toe your specific political line.
But behind the scenes, agents were pursuing dozens of similar targets: contractors with expired visas, municipal staff working on state projects, and private sector employees with federal security clearance. By late August, ICE confirmed that Operation Midway Blitz had already produced more than 40 arrests tied to employment or identity violations. Several of those individuals were foreign nationals who had entered on legitimate work or student visas and simply remained after expiration. Others were longtime residents using outdated work permits issued through older humanitarian programs. To the public, these were administrative errors. To the federal task force, they were vulnerabilities that could be exploited by criminal organizations. The political temperature rose quickly once media outlets began broadcasting footage of agents in tactical gear outside Chicago suburbs. Supporters of the operation praised it as overdue enforcement after years of lax oversight. Critics accused the government of staging political theater at the expense of immigrant communities. The pressure intensified when videos surfaced from protests on Chicago's southeast side showing tear gas canisters fired into crowds.
Both of those
Civil
things
rights
happened,
groups filed emergency motions alleging excessive force, and within 48 hours, a federal judge stepped in.
Police department, just one problem. He was visiting from Montenegro on a tourist visa and required to leave the United States over 10 years ago. Yet just this August, he graduated from the police academy and was given a badge and a gun. The town says he was cleared to work, quote.
In an emergency ruling, the judge ordered all ICE and Customs and Border Protection agents operating under Midway Blitz to wear body cameras and to issue 2 verbal warnings before deploying any non-lethal crowd control methods, such as tear gas or rubber bullets. The order, while narrow, signaled a broader demand for transparency as federal operations expanded into sanctuary jurisdictions like Chicago, Cook County, and neighboring towns. For DHS, the requirement was inconvenient but unavoidable. Officials agreed to comply, framing it as proof that accountability and enforcement could coexist. These cameras will show the real story, a department spokesperson said, and ensure every agent's actions meet the standard of the law. Back in Hanover Park, the fallout was immediate. The police department released a late-night statement defending its hiring process and insisting that all documentation for Officer Bojitch had been cleared by federal systems.
They have to say that.
The department claimed that the work authorization card he presented was verified through official databases, and that without that confirmation, the village would never have hired him. To local administrators, the arrest raised a disturbing question. If the federal government's own records showed him as legally authorized, how could that same government now call him illegal? Residents were left stunned.
That actually is super valid, right? It could be that this guy fell through the cracks. Like, it could be that this guy tried to do everything within his power specifically to, let's end this video. Like, he tried to do every single thing within his power to become a legal resident. He became a police officer. He wanted to do something honorable, but every system specifically that is in Illinois kind of let him walk through because, again, what Illinois is, right? So there could be some validity in that, truthfully. Like, Illinois approved him for everything because it's Illinois, right? But the problem is that the federal government is always going to kind of lord over all of the states, right? If what you're doing, it's like the people who were like having like initially when all of those like dispensaries and things like that, they started kind of popping up all over like California and Colorado and things like that, where it was like legal technically, right? But it's like a super gray area, and like no matter what, the federal government was going to come in and basically clean it up at any moment, right? That's what this moment was, I think. That's what it sounds like, at least. Like, if he has all of the documentation basically saying that he's completely fine to work, he was approved by everyone, then that's exactly what we're encountering. We're encountering something that is considered legal somewhere, but federally illegal. That's the vibe. Just like how the no-name given licenses are basically given out to people, and or illegal immigrants are getting driver's licenses in California and in the state of New York. You get what I'm saying here, guys? That's the type of thing where they're technically legal, right? But they're illegal regardless, bro. You overstayed your visa, and then you got into a very sensitive position. Of course they were going to come after you, bro. Like, why did you think that they weren't? You thought you were safe because your state has said you were safe? That's the vibe I'm getting from this entire scenario here. But again, this is not the only one that we're encountering. Midway Blitz is absolutely putting out like a good amount of people, bro. What was it? The superintendent the other day. Then there's, again, another police officer in Maine. Now this one, I'm sure this isn't over, guys. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more specifically coming from these sanctuary cities and states. Most likely, guys. It is what it is here, guys. Seriously. But listen, if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and catch you guys later. All right, guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to like promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies, and I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings, and we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry. Right? Listen, like and subscribe.